Now that's an ocean wonder. I'm Tom, the Blowfish herd.
Ooh, doggy!
The world's only heavy metal marine biologist.
That's so cool! Hello, Joe!
2/3 of this Earth's surface is covered by ocean.
We know more about the surface of the moon
Than we do our own sea floor. And I've made it my life's work to uncover the secrets and mysteries of the ocean.
and now I'm going to share them with you.
In today's Ocean Wonders, I'll be revealing why the king of crabs swaps out his armour.
My own clicking claws made me laugh.
Seeing how a tiny sea slug manages to keep itself safe. Explaining the repulsive way some starfish feed. And using a trolley and a mate's van, I can finally reveal to you the front runner for the fastest fish in the world. But first up, worms aren't renowned for their speed, but you'd have to be a super fast fish to snaffle one of these bad boys.
There are some things in the ocean which really do blow your mind. I mean, they're weirder than science fiction, but they are science fact. And this is one of them. Now, at first glance, this may look like an algae or maybe some kind of plant, but what we've got here are animals. They're called feather duster worms, and they are distantly related to your standard run-of-the-mill earthworm.
There are in excess of 400 species of this fantastically successful sea creature. And fossils of them have been found dating back over 200 million years. So, as far as the feather duster worms are concerned, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
What's amazing about these guys is that they live their whole lives in a tube. And it's a tube they make themselves, and that's where the feather comes in. This fantastic feeding crown that they've got, that is extracting particles from the ocean. So we're talking, plankton, phytoplankton, the soup of the sea. They have a very clever but very simple method of filtering the size of particles as they run down those thin tentacles you see on the top of the crown.
Amazingly, feather duster worms can sort these particles according to their size and composition. Large particles that cannot be processed are immediately ejected. Small organic particles are passed straight into the groove and run directly to the mouth. But medium-sized particles get passed down to a special storage sac, where the worm then sorts the indigestible bits of silt, sand, and shell to build that tube.
But if you're a predatory fish, you see these in front of you, you think, that's a pretty tasty treat. Don't worry, the worm has a very quick defense. See that? It's a quick, rapid response that can pull all those feeding tentacles out of the way, because if the worm is to lose that, then it's going to lose its ability to feed, it's going to lose its ability to build that tube. The minute that one of these crowns feels even the slightest touch against it, except that one that's not going in. The minute that one of these crowns feels even the slightest touch against it, the worm can pull itself quickly back into... Why are none of these going in? No, he's the same.
Okay, so maybe these guys like the taste of my fishy fingers. But trust me, in the wild, their responses are lightning quick. But it seems these guys want their 15 minutes of fame.
They are real.
And it looks to have reduced their reaction times.
And he's not going back in either.
Significantly.
Cat, you got me duff tube worms. If you were a predatory fish, that bad boy would have just offered you up a free meal. But it's not the end of it for the worm, because they can quite quickly regenerate and regrow that feeding, feathery crown. They just end up on half rations for a while. So it just goes to show, in the ocean, nothing is quite as it seems. Why have you got me duff tube worms?
There are around 7,000 species of crab living across our planet. Time to grab my snorkel and head to the coast to find you one of my favourites. Whoa, that holding me short. What we have here is a spider crab. An incredible creature for a whole multitude of reasons. Looks totally different from the big, meaty crabs you see with the pie crust on the outside. They'll go around, they'll like to graze on bits of seaweed, maybe bits of sponge. They'll eat dead things. But she's much more sedate, much nicer creature. And because, perhaps, of those smaller claws, she has to rely on a bit more of defense rather than attack. And we can see that in the shell. So it's rough on the back. So if you had a soft mouth, you came to bite this crab, it would hurt, you wouldn't want to do it. And all along the side of the shell here, we've got these teeth, which are very sharp. If you were to look at their shell under a microscope, you would see that it's covered in these tiny little hooks, like little bits of Velcro, so that if a passing seaweed spore goes by, it'll get hooked and it will grow. It gives this animal incredible camouflage. That allows them to hunker down in the rocks, but no one can see them. Unfortunately, being this well adapted to staying safe does have its drawbacks. When you've got this big, hard, armoured shell, it can be a bit of a problem when it comes to mating. So at this time of the year, the late summer, they will shed their entire exoskeleton. Once they've got rid of that hard, old shell, they're soft, they're pliant, and they're able to mate. It's a serious costume change. As well as for breeding, another reason these crabs have to molt is to grow. Over the course of their lifetimes, spider crabs molt on multiple occasions. To demonstrate this process, I've put on an inflatable bodysuit and covered it in tinfoil.
My own clicking claws made me laugh.
Stick with me. I'm about to show you a marine metaphor for a growing spider crab.
So my arm has got a little bit tight. I've put on a few too many inches around the waist, and it's time for a brand new outfit. But it's a bit of a mission, so bear with me while I get my swell on. So the process has begun. I've secreted enzymes from my skin to help loosen the old set of armour on top of me. I'm now starting to swell up my tissues with seawater. I'm increasing in size. It's not quick though, so, you know, put the kettle on.
It can take well over an hour for a spider crab to shed its armour. Swelling their bodies with seawater puts pressure on the weakened outer shell, forcing it to break. But they don't explode like a bomb. Rather, they slip out of the back through a small hatch that acts as an emergency exit.
Oh God. Now that my armour's starting to get a bit loose, it's time to slide out the back. Can we take this off now? Because I am warm.
But with that ordeal over, the spider crab now has an even bigger problem.
I'm out of my shell and I'm continuing to swell up with seawater. I'm trying to get as big as I can. But the problem is, I'm all soft and squishy. My armour's gone. I'm now perfect prey. So I'm going to go and hide and wait until this rehardens. I'm off for a scuttle.
Floating on the sea's surface, the 3 centimetre long blue dragon sea slug might look harmless enough. But believe me, this is one slippery customer you don't want to mess with.
Now, when we're talking about slugs, I'm sure you're already thinking about those terrible brown horrors that keep murdering your lettuce patch. But in the ocean, sea slugs are some of the most beautiful, elegant, and deadly creatures you can find. One in particular, the blue dragon sea slug, leads a very interesting life. Most nudibranchs, that's the posh word for sea slugs, are found on the bottom of the ocean. But the blue dragon is found at the very, very surface, where it spends its life combing the waves for its favourite prey. One of the deadliest creatures you could possibly find. Portuguese man-o'-war.
The Portuguese man-o'-war is a carnivorous creature that feeds on a diet of small fish, plankton, and crustaceans. It hunts using long strands of venomous tendrils that can reach up to 30 meters below the sea's surface. For most sea life, the man-o'-war's sting is deadly. But for the blue sea dragon, this guy is lunch. And they will happily chew up those dangerous stinging tentacles without any problem whatsoever. But they go one further. They have an ability to remove the stinging cells from the tendrils they are consuming, transport them out of their gut and into the tips of their fingers, called serrata. Here, the stinging cells accumulate, eventually making the blue sea dragon even more deadly than the man-o'-war itself. Armed and fed, these stinging slugs are then safe to detach, to float the sea's currents, looking for their next victim.
It's the same as you eating a cactus and transporting the spines to your very own skin. These bad boys are beautiful and deadly.
Sometimes some of the most mundane ocean creatures are capable of incredible things. And our next seaside staple is no exception.
This is a starfish. And you may think that it's quite a boring little creature, but this animal here is as weird and as wonderful as you can get. A starfish is an invertebrate. It has no bones. It actually has a hydraulic skeleton. It's called a hydrovascular system. It has the ability to pump seawater into an individual tube foot, which causes it to expand like blowing up a balloon. It can then place that tube foot against a surface, and then it will pump the water back out of the foot. That causes it to contract and to suck onto whatever it's trying to attach to. And this animal is doing that complicated procedure over hundreds, if not thousands of tube feet at any one time. And this is from a creature that has no recognized brain. That's pretty impressive.
As clever as this is, starfish are far from fast. Evading predators is not their strong point.
Now, that's not too much of a problem if you are a starfish, because if you were to be cruel enough to come up to this chap here, get hold of one of his arms and rip it off his body, please don't, the starfish has the ability to regrow a brand new arm.
Even more incredibly, the removed arm can regenerate a brand new starfish. And if these two were then, heaven forbid, ripped into 5 different pieces, before long, we'd have 10 more starfish. And so on, and so on. Needless to say, if not entirely eaten, the sluggish starfish can quickly expand its population to immense proportions. This incredible regeneration is something straight out of science fiction. And in fact, there are some species of starfish that will purposely lose an arm to help themselves reproduce. Now, this particular species of starfish likes eating mussels and clams. He crawls on top of the prey like that. Once he's on top of the prey, he then sticks to it using the incredible tube feet. What he starts to do then is to pull whatever the prey item is apart. The starfish will alternate the pulling strength so that no arm ever becomes tired and loses that force, whereas of course the mussel ends up tiring itself out. And eventually, once the shell is cracked open just a small amount, the starfish then goes to work. To feed, starfish push one of their two stomachs outside of their bodies. They then squeeze it into the shell of their exhausted victims, where they digest them alive. Understandably, it's a tricky process to film, so instead, I'm going to replicate it back at the lab with my own do-it-yourself starfish stomach. First things first, the starfish will find its prey. So we've got ourselves a little bit of meat here. Here's my stomach, and I need to invert it. So there we go. That's some scientific stomach everting noises there, but they do vomit one of their two stomachs out of their mouths. So this is the cardiac stomach that they push out into the world, but the pyloric stomach, which is connected to this by a very small duct, stays inside the starfish. Now, it's at this point where the starfish goes to work, and it starts to excrete digestive enzymes out of the stomach and onto whatever the hapless victim happens to be. So I've got my stomach acid excretion device here. Here are my digestive enzymes, and let's see what happens to the meat. Oh yeah, look at that. That is amazing. Just melting all that meat. So once the starfish has then excreted these enzymes, it can either start to slurp back up this delicious kind of meaty milkshake, or it can try and dissolve the whole thing in one go and start to parcel chunks back up into the body, through that tube, into the pyloric stomach, and then out into the rest of the starfish. It is an incredible method of feeding and very, very disgusting. Marine life has evolved in all sorts of weird and wonderful ways. And my next ocean wonder has taken that idea to the extreme. Oh, wait, hang on. No, it's out of tune. Hang on. That's it now. Yeah, it's in tune now. This incredible specimen is the nose of a sawfish. And I think it's pretty obvious why they're called sawfish. This specimen here is actually over 100 years old, and sadly, the sawfish are now critically endangered because they get so easily caught in fishing nets, and you can see why. They've been heavily pressurized by industrial fishing. Not good. Now, this animal would normally be found living in shallow waters, sandy areas of reefs, estuaries, that kind of thing. And it would use this huge nose as a minesweeper, passing it left and right across the sand. Because all along its surface, both up and below, is covered in tiny electroreceptive cells. These can pick up the electricity of life. It allows the sawfish to hunt in very murky waters. This gives them the edge. Other fish shoaling around won't see them, but the sawfish would have picked up their bioelectricity. Occasionally, they're known to take wild swipes at shoals of fish by swimming up to the fish in the poor, murky conditions and then rapidly slashing left and right,
they can harm and damage the fish, which then falls to the floor and it's easy for a quick snack. But you might think that slashing this about in the water would create a bit of a disturbance. Well, no. Check that out. It's like an aeroplane wing. It's really hydrodynamic and it can slice through the water and slice through the fish. It's a swashbuckling nose of joy. I love it. Check it out.
Time now to settle a score. When it comes to speed, the peregrine falcon rules the skies. Cheetahs, the land. But what's the top speedster in the oceans? For me, there's only one true contender.
Now, when it comes to the fastest fish in the sea, there's plenty of competition, but do not believe the hype. I'm sure you've heard of things like 80-mile-an-hour marlin, 60-mile-an-hour sailfish. Well, that is total bunk. It cannot happen. And there's two reasons why they can't do this. Number one, water won't let you. The faster you travel through water, the more it tries to pull you back. So by the time you hit, say, 35 miles an hour, the water will start physically ripping and tearing at the scales and tissues of the fish trying to swim through it. The second reason is the muscles of these fish just won't let them do it. Scientists have done experiments where they've taken the muscles of marlin and measured how long it takes for them to contract, release, and contract again, the same as a tail going left and right. And they found that the fastest they can beat their tail would give them a maximum top speed, at best, of 20 miles an hour. So there you go, the blowfish once again bursting bubbles, but the fewer marine myths, the better. So what is the fastest fish in the sea? Well, for my money, it is the short fin Mako shark that can speed along at 30 miles an hour. Let's check it out.
From nose to tail, the short fin Mako is an exquisitely streamlined fish. It is perfectly hydrodynamic, the sports car of the seas. And like any speedster, there's also plenty going on under the bonnet. Unlike most fish, Mako sharks are endothermic. They can generate their own heat. Because being warm-blooded means that their muscles react quicker and more efficiently, allowing them to swim faster. 20 might be plenty for a marlin, but at 30 miles per hour, Makos are deadly. That might not sound quick to us, but in water, it's unbelievably fast. Let me demonstrate.
To give you some idea, the average human swims at about 1 to 2 miles per hour. And Michael Phelps, a great Olympic swimmer, he can maybe get up to 5 or on a good day 6 miles an hour. So perhaps that's making the 30-mile-an-hour Mako sound a little bit better. But if you're not convinced, let me show you the difference. First things first, I need a Mako shark. Aptly portrayed by our production manager, who frankly is far meaner, angrier and nastier than any shark.
I'm hoping I'll be able to demonstrate that in water, top speed doesn't necessarily matter. It's how quickly you can get there that counts. We're under starter's orders, and we're off! Whatever its actual top speed, there is no doubt that the short fin Mako's immense acceleration enables it to outswim and eat very speedy prey. This quick carnivore easily tackles tuna, and they're also known to hunt speedsters like marlin and sailfish. You might say that the short fin Mako enjoys fast food.
So I'm going at 1 mile an hour, about the same as your average swimmer. And he's lapping me doing 30 miles an hour. So although they may not seem big numbers, in the ocean, 30 is lightning speed.
The Mako shark, fastest fish in the sea, and as you've seen, 30 is more than enough to be the king of the ocean. Oh, I'm done. Kippered. Oh.